It was the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, is it really necessary to have biblical names in textbooks? It was the strangest thing.
Just my luck. Saw you looking at her. Am I not enough?
Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be telling you about my experience going to an all Mormon school when I was in 8th grade. Yes, that is actually a thing that I went through. And it was a really weird year in terms of schooling. I had gone to public schools my entire life. Basically what happened is my dad got remarried, we moved to Utah, which if you don't know, Utah is known for having like tons of Mormons, okay? And he basically found this school called Liahona Preparatory Academy. And it was really close to where we were moving. And he was like, I really want you to go to this school. I think it'll be really beneficial for you, whatever. I was born and raised in the church. I quit going to church when I was like 17 after I graduated. And I just had my records removed like a year ago. So I'm no longer Mormon. My whole family still is. And so it's like, I think my dad really wanted me to be around other Mormon kids and stuff like that, which isn't a problem in general in Utah because literally like 80% of the population is Mormon. And I remember school time started coming around and my dad was like, let's go tour the school. We can like meet your principal or like whatever. And so we went and did that. We met the principal. He seemed like a nice guy. The school itself was tiny. The whole school is basically one hallway and they have probably like 8 classrooms. And I believe it was a K through 12 school or something like that. There was probably 200 kids that went to the school or less. It was very small. It was really strange. And so there was like little kids in the classroom. And then I basically was in like senior classes with older kids and I had some classes with like kids my age. It was very odd. I remember when we were touring the school, at the time, I was like a band kid when I was in junior high. And as embarrassing as that is, I really enjoyed it if I'm being honest. I know band kids are viewed as like very strange, especially like in high school and shit. But we asked the principal, we're like, so you guys have a band? And he's like, oh yeah, we have band. And like, we go to the football games and they play. And I was excited. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I've never done that type of shit. So I was really excited for that. Turns out it was all a lie. There was literally not a band. There was no band class. The football games never had like a band there. Like the dude just lied and it makes me think that he just wanted the money and apparently it was a very expensive school to go to and that's why I only went there for 1 year. We went into the cafeteria and the cafeteria is probably about the size of my apartment. It was fucking small. It was like the size of my living room, straight up, like so small. And it was really unnecessary because it turns out this school pretty much had half days every day. And so every day, I think I had 5 classes. I had English, math, history, science, and a study hall class. And they were all incredibly short. I think like my second period class was study hall. And so we went into the library and we just like hang out. If you wanted to do homework, and you could do homework, whatever. But by the time lunchtime came around, it was time to go home. And so there was really no point in having a cafeteria. It was the weirdest thing to me. I never once ate lunch at school because I didn't need to. I wasn't even hungry. And like by the time lunchtime came around, it was time to get picked up, which honestly, as a student, I liked that. I was like, oh, sick. I get to get picked up halfway through the day and I get home, my siblings are still at school, like that's fucking cool. There was also a dress code, which I did not want. As a kid that grew up going to public schools my whole life, like hardly any dress code. You could wear pretty much whatever you want as long as it wasn't like too revealing or whatever. When I went to Liahona, the girls all had to wear like, I think it was like skirts and stuff. I really don't remember the girls' dress code, but the guys was like no jeans, no open-toed shoes. You had to wear a collared shirt. You couldn't wear a t-shirt. Like what the fuck? We had to do like school shopping and I had to get a bunch of pairs of corduroy pants and a bunch of collared shirts. It was like the weirdest thing ever. And so that was the dress code for the guys and I wore collared shirts every day for fucking year of school. Another thing is every day before class, after we said the Pledge of Allegiance, we would have to say a class prayer. And I think it like rotated each day, like everybody had to say the prayer before class, like it just like rotated every day. Oh yeah, and our teachers, I totally forgot this. Our teachers, we didn't call them Mr. and Mrs., we called them brother and sister. So like my English teacher was like, sister whatever. And then my history teacher was actually the principal, which is odd. And it was like, oh, brother DeGraff. I think that's what his name was. It was so strange. Just, oh, like, especially since leaving the church, looking back, like I just feel weird. Like religious stuff to me now makes me feel so weird. I'm agnostic now, that's why, like I just am like whatever, I don't know. Somewhere between atheist and agnostic, that's what I am, I'm just like whatever. So we had an opening prayer in our first class of the day, and then in our last class before everybody went home, we had another prayer. And so, you know, that just shows how fucking Mormon it was. I also remember our textbooks were specifically, they were like custom designed to have biblical names in them. So say you're like working on a word problem for like math, it would be like Joseph has 12 books of Mormon. Zebulon was walking to school when he saw, like I was, oh my God, it was the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, is it really necessary to have biblical names in textbooks? It was the strangest thing. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with that. Even being a Mormon for most of my life, I don't know what the purpose was. Another thing, they didn't have school buses like most public schools do. So I had to get dropped off and picked up every day by someone in my family. I always took the bus, and I think that's another thing my dad got a little frustrated with because my stepmom also worked, and so he had to take us to school every day, and he also worked, and so it was just like a hassle for him, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, every Friday, there's no school. You do not have school on Fridays ever, which was fucking awesome, which I loved it. Especially being like an introvert, I could just stay home and do nothing, and my parents couldn't say anything about it because there was no school. And I think at the end of the year, we totaled up the amount of hours and days that I had not gone to school in comparison to my siblings that were in like normal school. I forgot how many days, I think it was like 13 weeks or something like that in total of days that I did not have to go to school. And another reason that number was so high was because they had these things that were like youth conferences for 2 weeks, where everybody in the school would be invited to go to a youth conference, like up in the mountains or whatever, for 2 weeks, and just like sleep over and like hang out and like play games or whatever. And I never went to those, I never had the desire to go. And so if you didn't go to that, you just didn't have school for 2 weeks. It was like another Christmas break, you just had a break. It was just insane. Like, I don't know how that school got away with it, and I feel like I didn't learn that much. Like, the curriculum or whatever was just, it was very simple. I felt like the teaching was lazy, and like, I didn't mind it obviously as a student, but looking back, after I started going to public school, like, public schools have their shit together. This school did not. And I guess the last thing that I wanted to talk about was my principal, I believe. I heard that he got caught doing some sexual shit with one of the students. Alright, so I just did some research. It turns out it was not actually the principal, it was the principal's son. And the principal and his wife actually created this school. And so it is pretty interesting, and it turns out he was charged with like 9 felonies for sexual abuse of 2 16-year-old girls. His wife filed for divorce, and he tried to flee to Mexico when he heard of the charges that were going to be filed against him. But he did get caught and arrested, but I did just want to say it was not the principal, just to correct what I said in the video. I mean, it's just hilarious how that type of shit always works. It seems like the priests in the Catholic Church or whatever always get caught fucking little boys. Like, it's insane to me. And of course that happened in the Mormon fucking school. Not a surprise to me. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. It was just a really weird experience, and The next year, I ended up going to a public school and things were a lot different. Hope you guys like this video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more Mormon type content. Let me know. I have a few video ideas about the Mormon church that I want to talk about. Oh yeah, and if you guys want to see my story time about why I left the Mormon church, I have posted on my channel. You can look it up or whatever. So that's the tea, and I'll see you guys on the next one.